Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Antaryascha Bahirvidhutatimiram Jyotirmayam Shashwatam Sthanam Prapya Virajate Vinamatam Ajnanamunmulayan Pashyan Vishwamapidamullasatiyo Vishwasya Pare Paraha Tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave Shokasya Hantre Namaha. We'll chant the first 7 verses. That's what we did until. So we'll chant together from the beginning. Karturagnyaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam kriti mahodadhau patana karanam phalam ashashvatam gati nirodhakam ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam kaya vangmanaha karyamuttamam pujanam japas chintanam kramat jagata ishadhi yukta sevanam ashtamurti bhreteva pujanam uttamastavat uchamandataha chittajam japa dhyanamuttamam ajyadharaya srotasasamam saralachintanam viralataf param. Okay, so we saw until this verse, and we are in the topic of Bhakti Yoga. So where were we in Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga, what it said, can be done in 3 ways. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion. So it can be done through puja, japa and chintanam. Puja means that ritualistic worship. Japa means repeating the divine name. Chintanam means contemplating on that name. And then we saw that the highest form of puja is to worship the whole world as God. When we see the whole world as God, that is the highest puja. And that's what puja is meant to do. It's meant to bring out this attitude that everything and everyone around me is divine. They may not show it all the time, they may not know it all the time, but there is divinity in everyone around me. And japa also can get subtler and subtler. It has different levels. So the grossest form of japa is what is known as stava or stuti, where we chant divine hymns of praise. And we chant divine hymns, and these are easier to hold on to because hymns have a variety. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. So there's a nice variety when it comes to stuti or hymns or bhajans. There's a nice variety. But subtler than that is loud japa. When I'm chanting the same name now, same name I'm chanting. again and again, but louder. Subtler than that is I'm chanting but only whispering. Manda japa, only whispering. So I'm not chanting loudly, only whispering. That's still subtler. Subtler than that is called chitta jam japa or dhyanam, where only now my thoughts are moving. So my lips are no more moving, my mala is no more moving, only thoughts are moving. And there it's meant to be one similar thought after the other similar thought after the other similar thought. So if I'm chanting Om Namah Shivaya, then the first thought should be Om Namah Shivaya, next one Om Namah Shivaya, next one Om Namah Shivaya, without a break. So this is how subtle japa is meant to get. And that chitta jam japa is called dhyanam. Dhyanam. Last time when we had class, we saw that this dhyanam can be two ways. One way is broken and one way unbroken, right? So one way, when we're chanting the name of the divine through our mind, it's broken. So first thought is the divine name, and then what do I have to do today? Second thought is the divine name, and then I wonder where my children are. Third thought is the divine name, and then why is it so cold? So it is broken dhyanam. I'm trying to hold on, but it's breaking. This is what we call virala chintana. It's breaking. But deeper than that is sarala chintanam, where it's unbroken. It's just steady. Just same thought, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And two examples were given to show this. One was ghee. When we pour ghee, if we can't think of ghee, think of your morning coffee. You pour it continuously, like that, continuously. So our dhyanam has to be continuously. Just like we're pouring a liquid to a cup. It has a continuous flow. So our flow of thought has to be very continuous, not broken. And the other example was given, the river. How the river is effortlessly flowing. It's not making an effort to flow, just naturally flows. So my thoughts should naturally flow to that divine name. Naturally. Not that I'm having such a hard time putting it there. Naturally, it should go there. And we also saw why this can be such a tough thing for us. Why is it so hard for us to focus? Because we all have ADD. Everybody has it. No need to go for diagnosis. We all have it. We're diagnosed. We have, our minds are very distracted. So we're unable to focus on that truth, that divine name, because the mind loves something more than it loves the divine name. I love something else more than I love God. And so naturally, my thought will effortlessly flow to what I love. I don't love divinity. I don't love it as much as I should. That's why the mind is going somewhere else. And if I want to cultivate more love, then the best way is satsang. Being around the scriptures, being around teaching, so I can cultivate more love. Another reason why the thought is not able to flow naturally is a lack of practice. We don't have that practice in and through our lives. Forget at the seat of contemplation, but in our lives we don't have the practice of just focusing on one thing at one time. When we're eating lunch or dinner, what's happening? We're eating while watching the iPad, while talking to somebody. So there's no focus. When we're sitting and we're speaking to someone, we're checking our phones and doing so many things. There's no focus. So if we're not practicing this art of focus in other parts of our life, how do we expect to focus during contemplation? It's not going to happen. If outside in my day-to-day life, I'm not focusing, I'm so distracted, my mind's all over the place, do you think in the seat of contemplation the mind will not be all over the place? It will be. So we lack practice. And if we just make it a habit to just even pick 3 things, just pick 3 things that I'm going to say that I'm going to do these things with utmost focus. It doesn't have to be all throughout your day. At least start with 3 things. 3 things that I'm going to be completely focused when I do this. And you will see that if you pick these 3 things and you're completely focused, it becomes easy to build the habit of focus. It becomes easy. So these are the reasons why it becomes difficult. Another reason it becomes difficult is our mind is always on what do we have to do now? What is in my to-do list, right? So instead of focusing on Bhagavan or God, I'm focusing on what do I have to do, to do. Now, one thing we should do, change this name of to-do list. Change it. It should be to flow, because life is meant to flow and not to do. You change your to-do list to flow. And when you're sitting down with Bhagavan, you say, you flow through me. Everything is in your hands. You flow through me and everything will be okay. When we take ownership of this doership, thinking that we have to accomplish everything, we have to do everything, we have to make everything work, life is always going to be stressful. But when we renounce that and say, you please flow through me, you make everything happen, let me be an instrument in your hands, then everything will be peaceful. Then it becomes easy to focus, because I don't have to do. I don't have to be responsible for the whole world. There's that wonderful, all-powerful Ishvara who is responsible for everything. It's not about you and it's not about me. Whatever has to happen will happen. Everything will go as it needs to go. Just relax a little bit. Relax. So there, now we have seen how subtle japa can get, right? So from loud japa to whispering japa to the mind japa, and how when it is the mind japa, it should be unbroken. And this unbroken japa, in the beginning, maybe I'll only be able to be unbroken for 2 minutes. It's okay. That's really great, actually. Even if I have been able to focus just for 2 minutes and my mind is just on that thought for 2 minutes, that's great. Next time we sit, increase it to 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And the more and more I build focus in my life, the easier everything will be. This japa is not just for my spiritual life. It is for my life as a whole. The better focused I am, the better parent I can be. Better friend I can be. I can be better in every single thing if I build this simple skill of how to focus. Right? Now, he's going to a deeper level of this contemplation, and that's where we will start today. Okay? Verse number now 8. Bheda bhavanat sohamityaso. Repeat. Bheda bhavanat sohamityaso. Bhavanat Bhavana bhida pavani mata. Together. Bheda bhavanat sohamityaso bhavana bhida pavani mata. So now he's going into the subject of contemplation. Bheda bhavanat. Bhavana means contemplation. Bheda bhavana, contemplation with duality. Then contemplation with duality. Abheda bhavana or abhida bhavana. The contemplation without duality is superior. So then contemplation with duality, contemplation without duality is superior. How is that contemplation without duality? Saha aham means I am that or that I am. Pavani mata and asau, this contemplation, pavani mata, this is considered as a holy purifier or that which is supreme. So contemplation without duality, that he is me or that is me, is considered superior to contemplation with duality. Now, so a question was asked to Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi ji. Does God have form or is God formless? Does God have form or is God formless? He said, do you have a form or are you formless? Meaning, as long as we are identified with a body, please worship God with a form. The ultimate reality is formless. But we in our Sanatana Dharma have been given a path to worship from form to formless. Why? Because we're so stuck up in our bodies. How many times every day we are looking at ourselves in the mirror? Even when there's no mirror, we'll find something to look, right? When we take a picture, a group picture, who is the first person that we look at in that picture? Ourselves. And if we're not looking good, redo the photo. Retake, because I don't look good in that picture. We have become so obsessed with our bodies. Think how much time in the day do we spend on what to wear, what to eat, how do I look? Today I asked you to wear orange, white and green. Which orange, which white, which green, right? So much time we spend on the body. Where to go for lunch after this? You'll spend half an hour researching all of these, the Zagat survey. Is this restaurant good? Is that good? Is that good? All kinds of things we spend, all time is spent on the body. Unreasonable amount of time is spent on the body. And this body is not even who we are. So we are so obsessed with our body, and then we expect to worship formless Bhagavan. Just see how absurd that is. So if we are stuck up in our form, worship formless. Worship form. If we are stuck up in our form, worship form. Worship the form of Sri Krishna, Sri Rama, Devi Saraswathi. If we're stuck up in a form, please worship the form. Please worship the form because it is a stepping stone. It is a stepping stone for me to go beyond my body identification. So instead of us being fascinated and spending so much time with our bodies, we spend time with the form of Bhagavan. How beautiful is the form of Bhagavan? That's why there's the Madhurashtakam. Adharam Madhuram, Nayanam Madhuram. That the eyes are so beautiful, the face is so beautiful, the stance is so beautiful, right? We just get fascinated by the form of Bhagavan, not by our form of Bhagavan. And this is how we start spiritual practice. We move from our body to God's body. And we focus on that. that also helps us to build focus, because imagine focusing on that which is formless. It becomes very, very difficult. So we start with a form. Then as the mind gets subtler, it will ask, who is this God that I am worshipping? Who is this form that I am worshipping? Is this really Krishna? Is this really Rama? Is this really Devi? Is that who I am really worshipping? Is this form limited to this body, limited to this name? Is that what I am worshipping? Then we begin to understand that actually this form is a stepping stone to Ishvara. And Ishvara means that all powerful, all pervading, all knowing reality. So from Krishna, from Shiva, from Narayana, I go to Ishvara. Ishvara is not really with a form. Ishvara is formless, but that formless truth which is all knowing, all pervading, all powerful, all capable, that cosmic reality. Cosmic reality is Ishvara. As the mind gets subtle, we understand that I am really worshipping Ishvara. Because when we pray to, who are we praying to? We pray, but where are prayers going? Prayer is going to the totality, that total mind, Ishvara. And as our study gets subtler than that, then we recognize we start to think, what is the nature of Ishvara? What is that nature of that totality? The nature of that totality is really Brahman, Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. In that existence, consciousness, bliss, that formless reality which has no qualities whatsoever, just whose nature is existence, consciousness, bliss, that is what I'm worshipping, and that is me alone. We are one. So this is how a seeker unfolds. We first start worshipping a form, any form that speaks to us, we worship that. We chant that name. Then gradually we go to Ishvara, the totality, and then we go into Brahman, the very self. An example given in the book is like water and wave and ocean. When I worship just a limited form, it is like the wave worshipping a bigger wave. Wave worshipping a bigger wave. When I start to worship Ishvara, or that cosmic totality, it's like the wave worshipping the ocean. But when I worship the self without duality, when I understand who I really am, it's like wave worshipping the water. It's like me coming to my essence. And that's what we're meant to do in this path. It ends in non-duality. Why? Because whenever I worship Bhagavan or Ishvara, who is separate from me, what happens is there's a lot of ups and downs, right? I long to be with God. When am I going to be with God? When is that time going to come when God is going to erase all of my problems, erase all of my worries? Why is it that sometimes God gives me what I want and sometimes He doesn't? Is He listening to me? And sometimes this relationship with God, with Ishvara, gets broken. When we have a loss in our lives, somebody very dear to us passes away, the first thing to go is lack of faith in God. I don't believe in God anymore. Because we think that God is our wish fulfiller. But actually God is our well-wisher. He gives whatever is required. Not whatever we want, whatever is required. So this relationship with God will have a lot of ups and downs. Lots of ups and downs. We will feel separation, we will feel pain, we will feel joy, we will feel all kinds of ups and downs. And also we will feel limited, that I am so limited, I am so small, and I am just me, limited by this body, mind, intellect. But when we worship the self, when we recognize that we are that self, that Brahman, then we are unlimited in nature. There is no more ups and downs. It's just very steady. There's no more ups and downs because everything rests in you. The whole world rests in you. So the whole world might be going up and down, but you are ever steady, ever at peace, ever relaxed. Because you are rooted in your reality. That you are that existence, you are consciousness, you are bliss, you are Atman. You're rooted in Atman, then you are limitless. You're limitless. So, superior to contemplating with duality is contemplating with non-duality. Understanding that I am that. That is my true nature. Now, having said this, what should we do as seekers? Start with a form. Start with duality. Because that's where our mind is. That's where our mind is so gross. It's not ready yet for that subtlety. So as a seeker, I should see, where is my mind? This might be superior, but where is my mind? Can my mind hold the formless, or is my mind still holding the form? And wherever my mind is, hold your mind to that. If your mind is holding the form, hold the form. If the mind is ready to go to the formless, go to the formless. But as a seeker, follow your mind. Do what's ready for your mind. And this is just to tell us how subtle it can become. That from form, we have to eventually come to that formless. Because it is not that God and me, it is not that there are two. In essence, we are only one. In essence, we are only one. And I might not understand this. I might not understand this, how I am in nature existence, how I am consciousness, how I am bliss. I might not understand this. But if I have that feeling, then contemplate with that feeling. And that is called non-dual contemplation. Okay? Now he's going to go into how much more do we need to get into this non-dual contemplation. We'll read the next verse. Bhava shunya sad bhava sustitihi. Bhava shunya sad bhava sustitihi. Bhavana balad bhaktiruttama. Bhavana balad bhaktiruttama. Together. Bhava shunya sat bhava susthitihi. Bhavana balat bhaktiruttama. So now he says, Bhavana balat. By that strength of the non-dual contemplation that I am, sadbhava sustitihi. what happens is firm abidance in that existence principle. Bhavana balat bhakti uttama. This, by the strength of this, right, this is bhakti uttama. This is supreme devotion. And this is bhava shunya. This is without any thoughts. So by the strength of the thought that I am, firm abidance in the existence principle is gained, which is free from all thought modifications, and this is supreme devotion. So what is supreme devotion? Supreme devotion is this. I, as a seeker, now have moved from stava, stuti, to loud japa, to whispering japa, to mental japa. I have moved to mental japa, which is called now as dhyanam or chintanam. And in that mental japa, I have moved from broken to unbroken. I have moved from broken to unbroken, like ghee, like the river. And in that dhyanam, that chintanam, I have moved from contemplating with duality to contemplating without duality. And when I progress this way as a seeker, what is the ultimate that I can do when I'm sitting down quietly? Bhava shunya. That focus, that unbroken focus, it turns into absorption. So in the beginning, I am focusing my thoughts very, very gradually, but that focus now, in turn, it turns into absorption where there are no more thoughts, no more thoughts. So this you will understand with a simple example of sleep. When we understand how to go to sleep, we can understand samadhi very easily. Huh? When we're about to go to sleep, what happens? We say, I'm going to bed, right? I'm going to bed. And we become the most dispassionate people when we're sleepy. We let go of everything. No matter how much we love our children, love the people around us, go, I need to go to sleep, right? We let go of everything. We switch off the TVs, keep away the phone, put away our books, put away everything. And there's only one thought in our mind, that I'm going to sleep, right? Otherwise, without this thought, we wouldn't be able to sleep. If there's a thought that, oh, I still have to do something, we're not going to sleep. We actually let go of everything completely, and we only have that one thought, I'm going to sleep. And we have that thought, I'm going to sleep. We lay in bed, we close our eyes, and then what happens? Sleep happens. So the first is we say, I am going to sleep, but when we're actually sleeping, sleep happens. It just happens. And when we sleep, we are thoughtless. No more thoughts are there. Correct? The same thing is with contemplation. We contemplate with that one thought, on that one thought so deeply that we let everything go. Nothing else can distract us. Everything we let go. Just like we contemplate on sleep, contemplate on your Ishta Devata, on Bhagavan, on that reality. Contemplate. And let your mind stay there. And at first it will be a lot of effort. Then that focus, it just turns into absorption. That effort turns into effortlessness. That thought turns into thoughtlessness. And that's called samadhi. That focus turns into absorption. There are no more thoughts. Bhava shunya. No more thoughts. And you just remain as you are. That is what happens by the power of this contemplation. And that is the highest bhakti. Is that when we completely lose ourselves into that. And this is not something that we don't know. right? This is something we do every day when we sleep. And this is also something we do when we're completely lost into something. If we're lost in a song, in a painting, in a dance, in a game even, that mind, it goes into samadhi. It flows into samadhi. The only difference between sleep and samadhi is this. In deep sleep, I go to sleep and I don't know what happened. It is of a tamasic nature. So I go to sleep, I don't know what happened, I don't know where I was, but I was in bliss. So when I wake up, I have that acknowledgement that I don't know where I was, but I was in bliss. But in samadhi, it is done with sattva, a sattvic mind, wherein I know exactly what's happening. And when I come out of it, I know that I was resting in myself. I was resting in my nature. Or I was resting in Bhagavan. So contemplation has to become so deep that we lose ourselves in it. We start with a triad. Contemplator, that which I'm contemplating on, and the process of contemplation. We start with a triad. So I'm the contemplator, I'm contemplating on something, contemplated object, contemplating. And then what happens as a result, and it just happens, you cannot make it happen, it just happens. Only contemplation happens. Only that process happens. There's no more contemplating, there's no more contemplated upon, only that process happens. It's seamless, it just goes on. It's almost like when you're flying. The process of contemplation is very much like flying. If you want to know how to meditate, you just think of how you take a trip. What happens when you go on a trip? What do? You surrender all your baggage, correct? Your baggage, either you check it in or you put it on the overhead compartment, right? You're not allowed to have baggage, or you put it in the seat in front of you. So when you fly, no baggage allowed. And when you fly, what you have to do, you have to buckle up your seatbelt. Otherwise, you cannot move. You can't be on the plane. You have to buckle your seatbelt. So when I'm contemplating, no baggage means get rid of all the nonsense in our mind, all the I have to go here, do this, do that, get rid of all of that and buckle up. Stay steady in your seat. And then in the beginning, they'll give you all of these instructions that, if you want to tighten your belt, you pull. If you want to take it off, you unbuckle it. And then if there's an emergency, this is where you go. So in the beginning, they'll kind of guide you as to the process. So in the beginning of your contemplation also, we do a body scan to just guide us through the process. And then slowly the plane will taxi. So slowly we do our japa. And you can still feel the taxiing of the plane. It's really loud. You can feel it. So that's loud japa. It's taxiing, taxiing, taxiing. Then slowly it comes up, very slowly. Then the whispering japa. You can still hear it, but it's less. And then again, it just goes little higher. So that mental japa, it starts. Mental japa. You can't really hear anymore. It's going higher. Then the plane, when it reaches a certain altitude, it just cruises. You don't even hear anything. You don't even know you're flying. You don't even feel like you're in a plane. So when we hit samadhi, it's like that. I don't know what, it's just, you're completely absorbed. There's no sound, there's no world, there's no nothing, but you're just there. You're just there and you hit samadhi. That's called bhava shunya. It's like you don't feel like you're moving. Now you might say, what is the benefit of these practices? You're talking about these practices, making the mind quiet, sitting down. Why should we do that? Now see, when you come out of the plane, right? So when the plane is about to take off, it does in a very, very orderly manner. When it's about to land, it's also very orderly. Right? It doesn't just go like that, right? It goes carefully, lands carefully. So when we come out of this contemplation or samadhi, carefully also we must come out. Just like we went in, we must come out carefully. Not that I finished contemplating, okay, let me do this. No, carefully come out. And slowly, slowly the train comes to land. And the most beautiful thing happens when we land after samadhi is that when the plane lands, then you get all your baggage and you move on your merry way. When we come out of samadhi, we collect all of our baggage, but the heart is so light that we are better equipped to deal with everything around us. So that baggage, which was so heavy before, is now so light. That baggage, which was so hard to control, hard to carry, hard to maneuver, now is so light. And that's why we contemplate, is because when we come to our real nature, we're able to rest. And when we come out, everything is so much lighter. Something that was such a big, big crisis, big, big problem is now so small. It's okay, we can deal with it. It's not the end of the world. Everything becomes light. That's why we go into these practices. It's because when we're out of spiritual practice, the world seems so big and when we feel so small. But when we spiritually practice, when we go into spiritual practice, we become limitless and the world so small. There's one beautiful thing that people say is that don't tell God how big your problem is. You tell your problem how big God is. Tell your problems how big God is. So in the beginning, without spiritual practice, the world is so heavy, so big upon us, and we're so small. But when we spiritually practice, when we stay rooted, then we become limitless. And everything happens okay. If it doesn't happen, okay. Life is like that, no? Don't think that at some point in time, everything is going to be peaceful, everything is going to be quiet, everything is going to be balanced. Don't think that after my kids leave, then I will be able to do this. That after this happens, I'll be able to do this. After I get that promotion, then I can do this. No. Spiritual life is not meant for after. Spiritual life is meant for here and now, in and through, I'll be fine. So in and through all of this happening in my family, I will be fine. In and through all of this happening in my career, I'll be fine. Because that's what spirituality is meant to do. If we're not experiencing that now, then we have lost sight of what spirituality is. Okay? So now I'm going to stop here because I know we have this Republic Day celebration today. But we can take a few questions just so that everything is clear and everything is understood. Anybody have any thoughts in their mind or any questions?
So you're suggesting that it's okay to worship, like whatever, meditate on the form and then go formless.
Yeah, correct. Don't go formless right away. Don't go formless right away. Take up to the form. Take your time with the form. Learn to focus on the form. Then go to the formless. Worshipping the form has tremendous benefits. It gives us a lot of focus. It gives us a lot of divinity also. Because what we think, we become. So somebody who's focusing on, let us say, Lord Krishna, becomes very wise, becomes very playful, becomes very light-hearted. Somebody who's focusing on Saraswati Devi becomes very wise, very creative, very, very intentional with their speech. So we're focusing on the form brings us tremendous purity and focus. So if we're able to do that first, do that. But take your time also. Spiritual life is not to be rushed. We don't have to rush and get realized right now, right here. No, no, no. Enjoy. Enjoy your sadhana. Enjoy your spiritual practice. See, we cannot be two different people. I'm doing all of these prayers, I'm doing all of these rituals, and then when you're out with people, you're the most annoying person in the whole wide world. They're going to be like, better don't pray. Huh? Spiritual life cannot be like that. Spiritual life is in and through everything. I'm praying within, but also when I'm out with people, I see them as God. It's a whole life of prayer. Yes.
Shubhani, how do you choose a form when you feel like you can sway different ways? Like if you, I feel to Lord Krishna and I feel to Lakshmi, how do I choose which form is for me and which one I should focus on?
Yeah. So how to choose which form to focus on, right? When you just close your eyes, the first form that just draws you, the form that can hold you for a long time, that's what you focus on. So if Sri Krishna's form can hold me for a long time, if there's so many things that I can find pleasing, lovely in him, then take that form. If Devi Lakshmi's form draws you and there's so many things that you can just think about her, then hold that form. So take that which can hold you, which can just, you can just get lost in that form. Take that form that you can get lost in. And that you find most natural to you. That's the form you keep. Again, we have so many forms. That's the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. And start keeping that form in your altar, in your home, in your phone screen. Also, you keep that form. Huh? So every time I'm looking at that form, keep it all around you.
In the beginning, you mentioned about this flow, like the flow of natural flow of things. My question is like, where does how does perseverance come in? Because we talked about that in the past, where you have issues, like you have problems, and then you persevere through them. So there will be frustration. You have to overcome all of that to get to that result. So, like, how does the flow and the perseverance work?
Yeah. So it's both ways. Perseverance is necessary because we have to keep doing what we have to keep doing. But there's only a point unto which we can persevere. So there's a point where we will have exhausted all of our perseverance. We have tried everything, we have done everything. Right now, this is all I can do. In that point, what we require is just surrender. And that's the absorption. That's the effortlessness. Even when we contemplate, we can just contemplate and do whatever we can. But there's a certain point that's as far as we can go. Then you just surrender. Let yourself be taken by a higher power. Just let yourself be taken. That's the last effort. The last effort is to let yourself go.